Joining me now with more on the government shutdown and the polarization between the two parties here in the United States Congress is Ginger Gibson, national political reporter for Politico, a U.S. newspaper and website. I want to welcome you to the broadcast. I know that you've done pieces on both sides, so give me the take on the Democrats. How do they see things right now?
Democrats mostly have their hands tied. There's very little they can do. They're frustrated. They want government opened. They want a clean bill, a bill that would fund government and not defund Obamacare. And there's little they can do at this point to try to make that happen. Saw them trying a lot of parliamentary moves today, making a lot of noise on the floor, holding a big press conference. Other than that, they're pretty stuck.
And you were saying, one of them, I think, was saying it's like watching the circus. The circus has come to town. There's a lot of grandstanding, so to speak.
There is. You know, they have little control, Democrats in the House, over what's happening. And so they're just waiting and watching. They don't know when they're going to vote. They don't know what they're going to vote on some days. And it's just left to watch what they describe as a circus unfolding in front of them.
Republicans, how do they see things?
You know, we're starting to see divisions within the Republican caucus. There's a very conservative group in that caucus who are determined to defund Obamacare, and they still think they can be successful. The president's told them no, the Senate's told them no. They've shut down government for 2 days now, but they're still optimistic they can have some success. There's
been a lot of nostalgia in this city as people look back on Tip O'Neill and Ronald Reagan, how they could come together, even though they were ideological opposites. Newt Gingrich, Bill Clinton, same story. And so the question is, what's different this time? And I had a chance to talk to former Congressman Alan Wheat earlier today. And let's listen to what he has to say, and then I want to talk to you about that at the other side.
There are more ideological news sources now. But what was different at that time was that members of Congress had a discourse with each other more than they played to the news shows, and not only the news shows, but to all the social media that exists now.
And let's throw in one more, Politico. He's talking about these networks that weren't there before with kind of polarized interest, and you've got social media that everyone's playing to these audiences, and they're not really having a discourse with one another. Would you agree with that?
You know, someone told me it's a bad week for reporters trying to write stories. It's a good week for bookers trying to get people on television. And a lot of that's going on. They're yelling at cameras and not talking to one another. But there's also been a change in the House of Representatives since then. A lot more power to members. And John Boehner, you know, Democrats will tell you they think he wants to find some type of deal that would open government. And it's that conservative streak in his caucus that's stopping him from doing so.
You know, the piece that was on before, I talked to Kenny Holseth and Martin Frost today. Both of these guys were veterans up on the Hill, and they said there was a lot more of a desire to reach across the aisle and work with one another. And right now, there really isn't that much interest because it doesn't sell well back in your home district. And instead of thinking about the good of the country, you're thinking about those people who may put you back in office.
You know, one of the big things to remember about why we're here today is when we look at how these districts are drawn. The last redistricting made a lot of these districts gerrymandered to be very conservative. So they're not going to lose to a Democrat. They don't have to worry about appearing to compromise. They do have to worry about someone primarying them, someone who's going to sell themselves to the voters of being even more conservative.
Okay, so my question to you, when does this thing end? Or does it?
Oh, if I had a crystal ball or could predict this, I'd probably start betting and move to Vegas. We don't know. It could be days, it could be weeks. There's no sign of them cracking yet, but a lot of pressure starting to mount. And there's going to be even more people back home calling to say, you know, open up government again.
And we're looking live at Capitol Hill right now. The business of government, in a sense, is still going on, but they really don't have much to do they? I mean, you're up there watching this. There's the speeches to be given, but really, in terms of votes, you don't see anything coming down the pipeline anytime soon.
Lots of speeches, lots of votes, but not on things that are going to change the current circumstances. They did vote on 2 bills today in the House that would fund the NIH, the National Institute of Health, and the Smithsonian's in the House. The Senate's probably not going to take those up. They say send me a full bill or send me nothing at all. So while they're voting and they're appearing to do something and they're giving lots of speeches, that's unlikely to change the circumstance.
All right, Ginger, thanks for coming in and visiting with us tonight. Certainly appreciate it.